Hi friends, Grace and I hope you're having a great day out there in your gardens. It's a nice day today, about 54 degrees Fahrenheit, but cloudy. But I have sunshine in my heart because we are going to be planting poppies, larkspur, rose bushes, and also creating what I'm going to call an auricula theater today. So I want to plant some breadseed poppies and larkspur in the main flower walk. We're just going to direct seed those around some of my existing tulip bulbs. Then we're going to plant rose bushes from seed. It says they take about 2 years to bloom, so we'll go through that whole process together. And then, you know the addition to my house where we have the gray door? That's located really close to the entrance to the garden. And right next to that door is a broken basement window. I previously just stuck a plastic pot on top of some bricks to disguise that, but I want to try to do something a little bit nicer, but I really don't want to spend any money on this project. So I'm going to go down into the basement and I think use that baker's rack and a whole bunch of clay and stone pots I have to make an auricula theater display. In other words, we're going to just plant up all these pots with the same thing, and then we can change up that flower show throughout the growing seasons. But before we get started, let me give you a little tour of the hellebores because I think most of them are in bloom. The majority of my hellebores are located in the hydrangea room. I apologize, I don't know the name of every single one. Thankfully, I do know the name of this one. We got it from Walter's Gardens about 2 or 3 years ago, and it's called Irish Luck. And look how well it's performing. It faces slightly outward, and it is putting out so many gorgeous blooms. I love the lime-colored sepals with the raspberry brush stroke toward the center. I think all of these still have their stamens, so they're not quite ready for harvest yet. I did hear someone say the other day that you can harvest the ice and roses hellebores before the stamen falls off. This short one that's just coming up now I've had for a long time. It's called Honey Hill Joy, and I've divided this many times. I think I started out with 2, maybe 3 plants. I think that division over there we did together in a video. Now, do you guys think that this one is called True Love? I'm not exactly sure. It faces downward. Beautiful deep magenta color. I just love it. That would be great in a really tall pot so you could enjoy the blooms a little bit better. This one's called Weekend Getaway. It faces downward, so it almost looks like a white hellebore at first glance. Then you pick up the bloom and you see that beautiful raspberry speckling on the interior. And this is a newer one too. I think this one, 2 years old. What do you guys think? I know either we planted these together or right after I planted them, I showed them on a garden walk and talk. I have a couple of these in the hydrangea room. Now they repeat on either side of the hydrangea room. So over there again we have Irish Luck, Honey Hill Joy. A few of these are before I started doing YouTube, or I just planted them off camera, so I'm not really sure the variety names. So let me know if you recognize any of these. This one is really beautiful. This patch right here is where Buddy is buried. And I don't think I ever showed you that. He passed away last year. And so I planted all of these hellebores as a marker for where he'll stay with us from here to eternity, hopefully. And isn't it interesting how well that batch is doing where he lays to rest? Now, I think these ones are kind of going over. What's this one called? I think it's something like childhood romance, childhood sweetheart. I'll put the name on the screen. They're not in their prime right now. I like this one, but probably not my favorite. Here's one that I would definitely recommend. It's called Whirlwind Romance. Grace, you like that one? You want to sniff it? Here, smell that. Oh yeah, Gracie loves it too. I could just stare at that bloom all day. You know what? These would be great also floating in a bowl of water. Then you could really enjoy their beauty. Here's another Whirlwind Romance. We're on the other side of the hydrangea room now. I'm not sure what this one is called, but I really like it because it faces outward, it lasts forever in the vase, and it has variegated foliage. I have 2 of those. And this year what I did was I planted some peach pansies around the daffodils. I hope that will look really nice. I got this one from my mom a few years ago, and if you know what it is, please let me know because I would like to get some more of it. It is a dark burgundy, and you guys know how I love dark colored flowers. Here's some of the pansies that I was telling you about. I believe these are called antique peach shades. In the hydrangea annex, we have some ice follies daffodils that have started to bloom. Gracie, I love your little nose in the shot. It's so sweet. Okay, this way. Good. Over in the main flower walk, we have a few more hellebores. I think this one's Maddie Marble. Does that look right to you guys? I picked up 3 of those at Black Creek Nursery last year. And this is where we're going to plant the majority of our bread seed poppies and our larkspur, because this year my color palette in terms of tulips is white, purple, blue, and then a striped tulip or a flaming tulip that's white and purple. So with that color palette in mind, we're going to be planting the purple peony poppy, which we've grown together a few times. You can see here in the picture, it looks like a deep eggplant. I'll show you some photographs that I took the year that I grew it. For me, it's really more of a mid-range lavender, and then Lauren's grape. Also, once again, I feel like Lauren's grape is a little more of a mid-range purple, leaning more towards lavender than what we're seeing here with all this saturation and all of this pink. So I'm hoping that these will pair really nicely with all of my Negrita tulips, Negrita double, those purple tulips. Oh my goodness, if you're looking for the perfect purple tulip, Negrita double all the way. So what I'm going to do is just sprinkle these right around my tulips. That way I know exactly where these seeds are and I don't accidentally weed them out of the garden in a few weeks' time. I don't think I want to plant any poppies in front of the fountain. These are going to grow to be about 2 to 3 feet tall, so I don't want to block that fountain. So we'll start here where our incredible hydrangeas are, and then we'll work our way back together. I also want to try to be really loose and natural with this planting. So I'm going to just dump all the seeds into my hands and mix them up. If I were to go through and plant one variety and then the other, I'm afraid it would look a little too intentional. And I'm always wanting my garden to look like it just happened. I'm here in South Central Pennsylvania, and I found that the best time to direct seed bread seed poppies is in very early spring, about 4 to 6 weeks before the last frost. But I think you can plant them just about any time. If I plant them too much later in the season, what happens is once they bloom, it gets so hot that the heat often takes out the plant the minute that it blooms. It's not just that the flower is short-lived, because that happens no matter what, but the plant itself is incredibly short-lived if I wait too long into the growing season to plant them. So I feel like 4 to 6 weeks before the last frost is a great time to sow bread seed poppies and any cool flower. Things like Orlea, Bupleurum, Nigella, Saponaria, Larkspur, anything that's a cool flower that can be direct seeded, now is the time to do it, and it will thrive and take off in just a few weeks' time. So all we're gonna do, you can see I don't really have a lot of mulch here. That's great. If I had a lot of mulch here, I wanna pull the mulch back, and I'm just gonna sprinkle just a very small amount of seeds because I'd rather not have to thin these. My soil is really moist and it rains here all the time, so our natural rainfall will take care of watering those seeds in for me. If it didn't rain here often, I would go ahead and make sure to keep those seeds moist, but I'm not going to cover them back up with soil. I'm not going to cover them back up with mulch. When it comes to poppies, it's basically drop, water, and watch. Bread seed poppies are super easy and so beautiful. And these are the poppies that you can eat. They're not a long-lasting cut flower when they're in bloom, but the seed pods, the bread seed poppy pods that they leave behind, last indefinitely in arrangements, and they also dry beautifully. Right? Jessica girl. Jessica, do you have a stick around? You wanna go get a stick? Go get me a stick. You can see that I still have a lot of garden cleanup left to do. I'm taking my time this year. I'm not planning any big projects at all this year. My goal is to just make the garden as it stands look as beautiful as possible and really keep on top of the maintenance. So what I want to do right here, these are all new tulips that are coming up. I'm just going to sprinkle these seeds kind of right around and through these tulips. Some will take, some probably won't, and that's perfectly fine. Maybe I'll get some in the leaves of the tulips. Those ones won't take. But as long as this seed is touching the soil surface and stays moist, we will have good germination. I also like planting in this area because I previously did remove the mulch when I planted these tulips. So there's no mulch at all here. The seed is going to hit bare ground, which is really what we want. If I had 2 to 3 inches of mulch right here and I tried to direct seed poppies on top of that mulch, a few would probably germinate, but not the vast majority. If you really want to have an amazing stand of poppies, do it in a raised bed. I can overlay some footage of years when I did that because I was growing them for cut flowers, the pods that is, and you have guaranteed success growing breadseed poppies in a raised bed situation. They are just so easy and so beautiful. If you want to grow cool flowers this year, but you don't want to bother with an indoor seed starting setup, I would just advise you to direct seed some cool flower seeds right now into your garden. Direct seeding cool flower seeds around existing bulbs is the perfect way to grow cool flowers in the landscape, and here's why. As the daffodil and tulip foliage fades and turns yellow, that's exactly when the cool flowers really start to push a lot of big leafy growth from the base. You're not going to have immense competition between those two plants. It's just going to be the perfect timing of the tulip foliage dying back as the cool flower foliage comes on. Now with this planting near the book nook, I have my grandma's peony right here, which gets really large, so I don't want to put any poppy seeds right here. They would just get covered up with peony foliage. Back behind this, in this area that looks large and vast, that's a carpet of Solomon seal, so I can't plant any there. But I do have this area here, which I don't think I have anything growing except the weed, Creeping Charlie. So I'm going to pull this Creeping Charlie weed and go ahead and seed some poppies right next to this tulip display. You know what we also have this time of year? When you have lots of snow and a dog, all kinds of surprises hiding around your garden. If you know, you know. Should have put my gloves on. Now let's direct seed some Larkspur together. This is QIS Deep Blue Larkspur. QIS stands for Quality in Seed. You'll often see Gomphrena labeled QIS. Once again, it's for Quality in Seed. Larkspur gets about 3 to 4 feet tall, but it doesn't get very wide, so that's great. You can sneak a lot of larkspur into the garden. But since it's 3 to 4 feet tall, I want to put it kind of in the middle of my borders. Poppies want light to germinate, that's why we sow them on the soil surface. Larkspur is a much bigger seed. It wants to be buried about 1/4 of an inch deep. So I'm just going to sprinkle the seed on the ground and then cover it up with a little bit of soil, and I'll give it a little bit of water as well. Larkspur takes a while to germinate, sometimes even 2 to 3 weeks. So don't give up on it. If you don't see it, just keep it moist and eventually it will take off. So I'm gonna sprinkle them right here where I have these tulips. I don't wanna go back too far where I have the alliums. This allium foliage is gonna get much bigger and cover this entire part of the garden. So even though it looks like right now that I have lots of places that I could direct seed cool flowers, I actually really just wanna stick with the tulips because this is where I know I have a reliable amount of space, versus if I plant things in between my alliums, they will most likely be covered up by the foliage, or if I can get them to germinate, eventually they would be smothered by the foliage as it gets bigger. Now let's do a fun experiment together and try to plant some roses from seed. Here's the seed I picked up the other day. Angel Wings miniature roses. It says eventually they grow to 1.5 to 2.5 feet tall. It says plants may flower sparsely their first summer, then begin to bloom in earnest their second and third. Plant 1/4 of an inch deep. All right, let's just see what happens. I don't know, have you ever grown a rose from seed before? I'll probably just maybe plant these in the raised bed for the first year, just while they get established, and then we can figure out where we want them in the landscape. This is gonna be so fun. Oh, you hardly get any seed. Look. That's it. What did I pay for this? $5. Okay, let's keep that in mind. $5 for 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 18 seeds. Mulch to the rescue. Make a little hole. I'm using this seed tray that Bootstrap Farmer sent out. This is their 50 cell tray. So far I'm really happy with them. You'll see a lot of these when we go down into the basement, and they also sell these watertight trays in bright colors, so that's fun and cheerful. All right, let's just plop one seed into each hole. Don't want to waste these expensive seeds. All right, just cover these back up. I'm going to water these from the top and the bottom. When it's a big seed like that, I feel comfortable watering from the top. When it's a surface sown seed that can be moved around easily by water, I like to just bottom water. So I'll put these on a heat mat under my lighting system in the basement, and then I will show you how they look in maybe a month's time. I also have some really interesting updates to share with you on the potting soil experiment that I'm doing. Some of these plants are this big in one soil versus probably this big in another. I cannot believe the results of this experiment, so I'll show you that next week. But I want to end today's video by trying to disguise that ugly broken window that's being held together with duct tape. It's really not worth the money to replace the window. We've always just covered it up and dealt with it. Let's try to make it a little more beautiful for this shoot without spending any money at all. Let's go. I also saw 2 people stop at the flower stand. I can't tell if they bought anything or not from over here, but I'm gonna check on this stand too and see if we need to put more pansies out, right, Grace? Okay friends, here is the problem. We've got a broken basement window right here. Here's the door to the addition. And for frame of reference, there's the gate to the main flower walk. So this is very close to the garden. I do not just want to let this sit here looking disgusting. I'm thinking what we should do is place this baker's rack over the window and then fill it up with beautiful pots. Let's just give it a try. I probably should stick my hand down in here and grab a bunch of those leaves, but I am 80% sure there's a dead bird in there or a dead mouse, and they can stay there. I started about 18 bare root Astilbe down in the basement 3 weeks ago, and I want to harden them off before planting them out into the garden. So what I'm thinking is that we'll just place all the Astilbe here for now to just get the sense of what this can look like throughout the seasons. Hopefully in summer we can do something like beautiful white geraniums, but let's just see if we like this concept before I spend more money on it. And these also need water. They're getting a little bit crunchy. Key with Astilbe is they really want moisture. I think this is a good start, and we should probably call this an Astilbe theater instead of an auricula theater. I believe the auricula theater originated in France in the 17th century, and they made these little stages in wooden boxes with roofs to protect the auricula leaves from damage. So this is kind of a makeshift Astilbe theater, but I think it's gonna work, and I'll tell you what, it is way better than looking at that messed up window down below. Where'd Gracie go? Gracie, where are you at, love? Grace Goo, where are you? Hey Grace, do you like the Astilbe theater? Say, Mom, I never know what you're talking about. I told you I don't speak English. It looks like we sold a few things at the flower stand. Oh, they got some of my favorite pansies right here, Imperial Antique Shades. This is the one that I have in the hydrangea room. Looks like we sold 2 packs of that, so I don't feel like I really need to replenish this quite yet, but I'll move this one up a while. I do have some cut flowers in the stand, but our big opening will be Easter weekend. But I think we're good over here for now. I got this idea from Sarah Raven. This is one of her books, A Year Full of Pots. And you can see here in her garden where she's just using a baker's rack to display her auricula. And I think she might go into the history of auricula theaters in here. One of her book talks all about them. But if you don't have any of Sarah Raven's books, do yourself a favor and grab one this spring season because they are all full of inspiration. My favorite one is this one, A Year Full of Flowers. She also has A Year in the Edible Garden, A Year Full of Pots, and then she's coming out with a new one. I think it comes out next week. I also wanted to show you this book, How Does Your Garden Grow? This is from Millie Proust, and she has another book all about cut flowers, which we have. But this one is really all about garden design and just the principles of gardening. And I felt like it was a really wonderful book. Whether you're a beginner gardener, an intermediate gardener, or a seasoned gardener, I think you would really enjoy reading Millie's new book. So I'll pop some links to these books and others in the description section down below. Well, friends, I think that does it for today's video. Aren't these Iris reticulata behind me so sweet? They're about this tall, but bringing me this much joy. I want to wish you all a wonderful day out there in your gardens. I've been only producing 1 video a week just because of how cold, rainy, snowy, and icy it's been. Oh, and windy. But hopefully I can go back to 2 videos a week once things warm up. I'll keep you guys updated on that, and I want to wish you a wonderful day. Bye, friends.